Men, women, alongside with children, are deceived, lured, and trafficked to Libya and other countries of the world into dangerous journeys and horrific conditions while subjected to abuse, rape, forced marriage, slavery, and other forms which may even involve the extraction of organs and tissue. The trade in humans is most commonly for the purpose of forced labor, sexual slavery, or commercial sexual exploitation, and is highly lucrative for the trafficker. There are in syndicates, and it is never in the interest of the victims. Human trafficking is a crime because of the violation of victims' rights of movement through cohesion, even sometimes life, and because of their commercial exploitation. International Labour Organization ILO affirms that forced labor, a component of human trafficking, generates an estimated $150 billion in profit per annum. In 2012, the ILO estimated that 21 million victims are trapped in modern-day slavery with progressive increases. 14.2 million, that's about 68%, were exploited for labor. 4.5 million, about 22%, was sexually exploited, and 2.2 million, that's about 10%, were exploited in state-imposed forced labor. The cost of the deadly organ trade must then be mind-boggling since it is underground and we do not have any estimates. Few trafficked persons have been fortunate enough to be rescued and returned from these dens of heinous crimes. This episode of Bridges brings you the reality of life in traffickers' clutches and stories of horror of returnees who are lucky to be sane, alive and in one piece. Now, on return, what do we as a people do for them? How do we rehabilitate or reintegrate them into society to avoid being relured as a result of our stringent economic environment? What more can we do? Or better still, what should we be doing if we are not doing it or not doing it right? Welcome to Bridges, still building a sustainable society. I'm Muchima Conchola. Today we have eminent Nigerians who are passionate about containing the stem of human trafficking. On my far right is one that has crisscrossed the desert. Actually would call him Dr. Desert. He's seen the bones, he saw them fresh, he saw them not too fresh. And he's been doing this for over the years, even before the world started talking about human trafficking. Please welcome with me Dr. Newton Jubono, who I call is an environmentalist, but I call him a humanist. Sir, you're welcome on Bridges.
Thank you very much for having me.
Then I have my own sister, whom I'm thoroughly proud of, and Abike Dabiri, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, who has been in the forefront of doing this. As we all know, she's SSA to Mr. President on diaspora matters. But beyond that, she has also been humanly involved from days before now in things that should better improve the Nigerian human society. Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Now, going back to these Nigerians who are here, they're specially chosen and they're here today to participate with us on this very, very important topic. I have here Kabiesi, you're welcome, from Ikorodu. I have here an ambassador, sir, you're welcome, Excellence, and from NAPTIP, and even from FIDA, because also FIDA deals with some of these victims. You're all very welcome on Bridges. Let's go straight to it. Give us a historical background. Sir, you have crisscrossed the desert. First, let's know what you saw during those days, you know, back in the 2000 and beyond, you know. And how would you transpose that into what we are seeing today?
First, thank you for having me on your program. And it's something that has gone back, as far as I'm concerned, to 20 years ago, when I made my second expedition across the Sahara Desert. In fact, I have crossed the Sahara 4 times. And during the first expedition, I did not encounter the kind of stories we're going to be telling here today. But during my second one, in 2002, through the Federal Ministry of our Foreign Affairs Department, because I made a report or a request to the ministry, and the ministry informed almost all the embassies on my route about my expedition. And but in this particular case, crossing between Mali and Algeria, and the point of entry in Algeria happens to be Tamarasset. When I was met there by our Nigerian embassy officials and some gendarmes from the Algerian government, they asked me, how was your second expedition compared with the first one? And I told them that what shocked me was the fact that I saw so many human skeletons and so many dead bodies in hundreds. So I said I couldn't, and the gendarmerie commandant said to me, they are all Nigerians. And I'm talking about 2002. And I said, all Nigerians. So of course, when I got to the embassy to pay my courtesy call, and the ambassador made it clear to me that yes, that's what they've been hearing, but who will go inside the Sahara Desert to go and look for dead bodies? You're talking about a distance of about 1,700 kilometers across. And I started seeing these bodies from about 300 kilometers from where I started. So nobody will go 300 kilometers to go and look for dead bodies. So that was my first shock. And from the discussion I had with the ambassador, he now talked to me about the camps where some of the migrants that managed to cross the desert are kept. So I went to the camp. My goodness, if I begin to tell you the story, things I heard, what I saw in those camps, I can go on from now, and I don't think your audience would want to hear some of those things, because what I saw, the kind of degradation I saw Nigerians, or rather Africans, being subjected to was unbelievable. I mean, for instance, apart from being raped, and some of them getting pregnant in the camp and having babies in the camp, for them to have a shower, they have to buy a bucket of water, maybe once a week or thereabout, to go to the toilet.
Where do they get the money?
Well, of course they carry some money with them. To go to the toilet, you have to pay.
So you pay for torture?
And I'm talking about 2002. I wrote about these things. I wrote, and I even featured. So that's why I'm commending your station, because this is the first time one is being asked to come and openly talk about this. And I know that as we go along, I mean, one can now begin. So let me not take all the time.
Yes, that's mind-boggling. I'll come to Honorable Abike Dabiri Irewa. You were in Libya when, I mean, you've been at it, and I'm sure some of them have spoken about their experiences to you. Would you just like to sum it up as we look at the perspective of us as a people trying to contain Nigerians making this dangerous journey?
Well, as Dr. Jibuna said, it's been happening all those years, and well, fortunately or unfortunately, the world did not pay that much attention until CNN showed us actuality, and then the world started paying attention. As early as January 2017, we had been on television, we had been in the media warning Nigerians to avoid Libya. And some said, oh, okay, are you saying go everywhere except Libya? And we kept saying it's deadly, it's dangerous, this is what happens there. But we didn't pay much attention to it. And of course, I'm glad that Mr. President took a decision that every Nigerian stranded in Libya and other parts of the world must be evacuated, which we have been able to continue to do successfully. As of today, over 2,133 have been evacuated since the president's instruction. But of course, since that January, they've been coming in bits and pieces. So hopefully we're going to get everybody back. And being in Libya, I mean, I think that's I've never in my life seen that kind of thing. 15 years of journalism, 12 years in parliament, I've never ever in my life seen that kind of torture, so
Yes.
to speak. I mean, forget about what you see on television. You know, doctor can speak to you because he saw it. Forget about what you see as pictures and everything. When you actually go there, you wonder whether, I mean, these are human beings. And you know, I mean, there was a little girl who I think was impregnated in prison. Then they injected her with something, and the pregnancy just had to come down, and she was bleeding and in pain and all that. And I don't want to go through the kind of experiences.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
it's inhumane. But the key thing is, okay, this is happening. One is, despite the torture and all that we're talking about, don't be surprised that some people are still preparing to go. Because there's this notion that you must get to Europe. And there was the guy we met in Libya who works with IOM, who came to Nigeria for the first time. I could not understand the paradox of what they said they were running away from and what he saw. So, like I keep saying, we need a lot of awareness, massive awareness campaigns. They will show you picture. Look at this beautiful house. Look at this car. It was bought by A and B. You can do the same thing. But it's a facade. And then one thing is this, maybe you succeeded 10 years ago, but not today. You're likely to die. You're not even likely to get there. And then we hope that according to the AU and EU, there'll be better policing of the borders, because you see them. The traffickers, they live within us. They are not ghosts. I mean, like another report we saw, you could see the trafficker actually openly negotiating.
Yes.
So you know them, they live within us. We must move ahead of the traffickers, not having the traffickers move ahead of us.
Yes, and that's why I come back now to the audience. I quickly would like to have an experience, you know, with Kabiesi. Kabiesi, can you let's meet you? And yes,
Yes. Nice being here. People will continue to talk about all this. It's just that my personal experience started, I think, 1999, when I decided I should be able to, because I wanted to start something different from what people do, by getting to know places and identifying areas that are degraded, environmental, having environmental problems and all the rest. So I picked on this desert area. And God be moving towards all this place. I never even intend to go through Agadez. Agadez was when I went through with Dr. Jibino. What I did was to go through Mali, Ghana, Senegal, Mauritania. And, you know, getting to that place, that is when you start seeing people being tied down to trees. Tied down to trees. And when you meet with them, they speak languages that you understand. Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. And they've been there not 1, not 2, not 3 years. And what they do, basically then, was just to make sure that they move the cow around a mechanical machine that helps them to do irrigation. Not 1, not 2 people. And that has been on since then. And come to look at it this time around. With this, I had to go as far as setting up a foundation that is called Center for Environmental Refugee. And in the course of that, we came back with something in the second. I think that should be your third
expedition.
Yeah. In the course of driving, everybody keep asking, "What are you doing? What are you trying to do?" I said, "Come, I will need to pick human remains, because not just talking about it, let people see it."
Yes.
Came back with parts.
Course.
You understand? Cups, bags, ID cards, and those things are still there today, because people will come and look. They go through the museum and they look at those things and you don't need to go. I've gone through this and this is what I saw. And there are people there that have not. You think they're overseas? They are not. Okay, they're overseas doing some good job somewhere. So these are things that will continue until people get to understand the fact that we are not going through rough time in Nigeria. Those other places are not as good as what we have here. Yeah.
Well, Ambassador, well, you have, you know, been in several of some of these countries where, let's talk about home now, Nigerians have been trafficked. What has been your experience? Why is it that I would pay to go through hell, as it were?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I serve as a Nigerian Foreign Service Officer for 35 years in practically all the major countries of the world. I'm on 5 continents. Served in Africa, served 2 times in Europe, I also served in America, and then of course I served in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and I also ended up in Australia. And that means that as a Nigerian diplomat, you have to also see to the welfare of Nigerians. So I've been in, I can literally say, you know, I've been in prisons in those places in terms of Nigerians who are arrested for one thing or the other, drugs, trafficking in drugs, those who are trafficked there, commercial sex workers who are trafficked as commercial sex workers as well. And you wonder, you ask them, what exactly drove you here? You have people who said they've sold properties because they want to go to Europe or they want to go to America. And you can't believe that up till about a week ago, a young man called me, and the person I'm talking about, you know, flies, is a cabin attendant, and then he's been informed that there's a post of a concierge, you know, there in New York where they will make more money. And I said, I lived in New York twice. You will not. Please stay here and make it perfect, you know, out of it. So it's a big problem. There's a misperception.
Yes, I know Fida is anxious to come on. Yes.
Yes, Auntie. I think I will come in the way of those that are already brought back. How do we reintegrate them into the society and even to their families? Because these ones we have going back, I think is because some of them, they don't have hope, nowhere to go back to. Even their families, some can't relocate. There's one that was brought to. A friend brought to my attention. He was among the ones that were brought back, and he sold his father's land to go back. His father pleaded with him. We went to my friend to plead with him, and my friend brought him. We pleaded with him. He said, "No, I now know detectives. So if I have my money, I can buy my way and go." So we really need to do more by sensitizing the public, sensitizing people, to see how they can be, you know, settled in Nigeria. The green there is not greener than what we have here. It's just information and understanding. Then our laws too, because these traffickers, there's nobody that's actually been convicted, prosecuted and convicted for others to take a leave from. So we really need to strengthen our criminal administrative way of dealing with these traffickers too, because they're really smart. If you catch them one way, they go the other way.
Thank God we have the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. That's NAPTIP here. Yes, let's hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Ma, and thank you for having us here. I would like to start by saying that Nigeria actually has a legal framework in combating human trafficking. But be that as it may, what is going on is the activities of organized criminals. These are international criminals, and they will do anything at all to deceive their own victims. So yes, it's our own role to be able to enlighten our youth that all those sweet stories being told to them by these criminals, they should not believe it. Because these criminals are actually those who cannot fit into the normal society. So they tend to operating in those routes across the desert, because that is their homes. And they'll do anything to deceive any of our youth who are living in the villages to come to Europe. Oh, that is all rosy. They know fully well that they are all lies, and they know how they'll end up there. So the story in Libya is so horrific, and we have been there as well, and we have interviewed them. A particular lady who lives in Ibadan was deceived by her own neighbor. She was so shocked when she got to Sabha, there in Libya, and she announced, "You have to do prostitution for you to give me back my money." She said, "How? But we are friends." He said, "No, you must work." This woman was so shocked. She worked for almost 8 months, according to her, and she was able to pay up to about 600 to 700,000 naira equivalent. Thereafter, she felt she's freed. Before she knew it, another person kidnapped her again, and she was forced into forced marriage. She married a Ghanaian man who now asked her to go and steal money from an Arabu house. What they call Arabu house is going to work as domestic worker in Arabs' homes. Eventually, she arrived to the embassy, who now rescued her, and we started seeing how we can bring her back to Nigeria safely.
Honorable Abike, a lot has been said about integration. From the government side, let's hear from you. What is it that government is actually putting in place to ensure that, some of them that we spoke to, who refused to come on camera, by the way, because we thought we could bring them on camera. Some, decided not to come, but let's speak for them. Some are very apprehensive that out there, in spite of what they go through, they still, some say they still make some money. Now, how do we fully, as a people, integrate them? Let's start from government, then I would have you comment, sir.
Well, for those, like I'll tell you, when they come back, there was a program with the SDGs office where we tell them, okay, for those of you coming back, you can get this skills acquisition, get support here and there. So we ask them, fill this form, call this number, and then you will surprise them. Out of 2,000, over 2,000, really about 40 something. So they were interested in skills
Acquiring some
acquisition
skills.
and then being set up or something. There was a guy who said, look, I sold all my trucks. I lost 10 million naira. Are you going to give me 10 million naira? You know, so you have to also classify them into what it is driving them. You know, now government is saying when you come, you can, even some are back in school, some I've gone to some training and all that. But what happens is when they come back, each state is encouraged to take their citizens, rehabilitate them, and then empower them. And Edo State, being the largest, is doing just that. So states are being encouraged. And on the side of the federal government, there's the JIP program, which, you know, you form yourself into cooperatives, and then you decide what you want to do, and then they support you with some form of money to start off. But you see, we also have to understand that some just don't want that. Some just believe that it's just that when you go out there, you must make money. KBSC hasn't told us his own story about how he set up with, I think, how much? A little amount of money. You know, so again, we come back to massive reorientation. What are our values? And then when you say it's better out there, they know it's not better out there. You know, fine, there are challenges. Government needs to provide jobs. You have to have an enabling, government cannot provide jobs, but provide an enabling environment for jobs to thrive. But there are some who just don't believe that you should make little money and grow. One of the girls who is back, she went into learning baking and all that in Benin. She called me last week. She's finished the training. She got jobs in Ogun, got jobs in Osun to make cakes. And she sent the cakes excitedly. She has 2 children. The children are going to school now, and she can take care of them. So, and with a little support here and there. And also, before I forget, one guy who came back from Libya years back, relocated to Ibadan, started selling recharge cards and doing a few businesses, and was able to build a house and all that. So government must play its role, but we also must play our role by looking at what we're looking at as our values and moral orientation and all that.
Yes.
I mean, like Honorable Abike mentioned earlier on, we have to stay ahead of the cartel. Cartel, they are, you know, those we saw on television are agents of the cartels. And they have been ahead of everybody. When I was on their trail, one of the returnees that was helping me said that if they find out, told me that if they find out about me, they will come after me.
Okay.
That shows you how deadly they are, because it's a multi-million-dollar business. They have a few, particularly girls that have succeeded in Italy, in France, in Germany, in Holland, and they have clips of those that are doing well, those that have built houses for their parents, and they use that to entice the rest. So until one is able, like Abike said, go on with some kind of sensitization program that will let them see the other side. Because we have a lot of stories to tell from the other side on those that have not done well, on those that are not doing well, on those that are dying, on those that are going to be pushed and drowned in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I actually would like to share that experience with you. Yes, and I mean, to tell you how dangerous it is. And things that we see on television doesn't say it all, like Honorable Irewa has said, but this conversation must continue. Before we round it up on this part 1 of this conversation, let's hear from the back there, because I know a lady from NAPTIP is very anxious to come on on the conversation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Patricia, and I work with NAPTIP. What I'll have to add is I was one of the people that went to Port Harcourt to receive them, and when you see them, you will know that they went through hell. And a lot of them were really regretful, you know, like they were not happy what they did. They had that remorse in them. And when we were counseling them, Some of them, because of what they went through, they will tell you, even if it's my enemy, I will discourage the person from going. But you still have a few that will tell you that I've not reached my destination, I still have to go.
That's it, moving forward. But there again, we still have this issue with us as a people. And we meet them every day. Some are so hopeless that they really would rather go back and face the torture. But we must encourage each other that we all need to be together to build a better country where all of us can thrive. And for those who insist that they must go, we'll continue on this conversation same time next week, same people, same set. We'll speak to the dangers inherent in taking that route. Until then, join us to build a bridge, a sustainable one, that will ensure that our people, particularly our youths, are not trafficked along the dangerous route that they're exposed to when they go. Thanks for watching. Bridges will be back same time next week, same topic. Stay with us.